Hello and welcome aboard WhalePod to another Genshin Impact video. I'm your Captain Whale, and the topic of today's video is going to be the 3.4 banners, and my voice sounds a little quizzical right now because something has happened that we will get to in a little bit that I'm wondering if maybe HoYoverse made a mistake, or maybe they're trying something new with their marketing beforehand for their new updates with 3.4. But we had no idea this was going to happen, so it's all still a little strange right now. Well, as is normal, we have the new banners for the first half of 3.4 displayed before us. Already for like a day or two now we've had these banners. We have Alhaitham and Xiao as the headliners for the two 5-star wishes on the first half of version 3.4. And as such, the weapon banner will have both of their signature weapons, Light of Foliar Incision and Primordial Jade Winged Spear. We're going to start with the easy one here. The weapon banners 4 stars are all except the Widsith and Sacrificial Bow. Pretty terrible. The Lithic Spear there is interesting as it's exclusive only to limited weapon banner wishes like this, but I don't really think it's used all that much. So then its uniqueness of its exclusivity to the weapon banners here, I don't really think it's really worth picking up unless you just want to collect everything. I would also advise, unless you are a whale, not going on this weapon banner, because eventually Alhaitham's weapon will be available on a banner that does not have the other promoted weapon being a standard banner weapon. Primordial Jade Winged Spear is probably one of the better, if not the best. I would put it as second best behind maybe, and this is a strong maybe, the Wolf's Gravestone from the standard banner, but once again, you can get it pulling on standard banner with just the Acquaint Fates you get from things that just hand you Acquaint Fates, or by losing the 75-25 on other weapon banners. So unless you're a whale and or really dead set on getting Alhaitham's weapon now and trying it out right now, do not wish on the weapon banner. Weapon banners are always bad value. Now, as for the 4 stars that will be accompanying Xiao and Alhaitham, we have the brand new 4-star Yao Yao. It is always nice to have the new 4-star on the same banner as the new 5-star, because then whales like me don't have to pull for constellations of a character we already own and might not want constellations for at this time or ever, going after the new 4-star. So it's always going to be nice to have Yao Yao here alongside a new face on the 5-star part of the banner as well. We also have Yunjin, so 2/3 of the banner are newer Leo units. 3.4 is the Lantern Rite update, so I'm pretty sure, just like with last year's 2.4 banners, the 3.4 banners will be Leo characters all the time, only on the 4 stars. And that leads us into, while I'd say 2/3 of this banner are good hits for the 4 stars, Yao Yao is a brand new, untested, unproven, but I would say decent unit potentially overall, as she is a Dendro unit, and she is our first Dendro character to have any semblance of healing in her kit. As Yao Yao, I believe her rabbit from both her E and the multiple she'll throw out with her burst can heal the party. Yunjin does have some dedicated niche playstyles for characters that rely heavily on normal attacks, such as Ayato and Yoimiya. There are probably others, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now. Those are the 2 biggest ones that I know of that really enjoy Yunjin. But then we get to the elephant in the banner, and that is Xinyan. Xinyan is a character who still has bugs in her kits that have never been fixed. Sometimes her shield will just not apply the proper level of protection that it should give you. It usually just... And it's usually not in a good way. It never gives you more protection than it should. It's undervaluing itself. And she has an awkward split scaling that wants you to invest heavily in both attack and defense, forcing you to split your artifact main stats and substats. Like, if you even want to make any use out of that very shoddy, buggy shield, you do have to stack defense on Xinyan. And I don't believe she has too much in her kit, except for, I think, her burst. I don't really know too much about Xinyan. I just know that her split scaling works against her as opposed to working in her favor, like with another character whose banner is already out and It's a little unusual, so I'm wondering if this is a mistake. Please don't smite me down, Papa HoYo verse, for covering this, because you're the ones who put it out here. That's what I'm talking about is, well, all of this. Not only do we already have all the details about all the events, the new TCG update, and everything that's coming throughout the 3.4 patch already, we also know something we normally only get to see right before the start of the second half of the banner phases, and that is we already know the 4 stars that are going to be accompanying Hu Tao and Yelan's rerun. I would say Xingqiu is the only real positive on these 4 stars. Xingqiu is a double S tier unit and probably the best 4-star character in the game just by a numbers perspective. I know I don't use him very often because I just personally don't like him. But then there's the question of Ningguang and Beidou. These were both really good units back in Genshin's early days, but I feel like they've definitely been power crept as time goes on. So overall, on the 4 stars, I would say the first half has the better 4 stars with the dedicated niche and a brand new, unproven, untested unit who is interesting enough to try out, as she is once again the first Dendro healer in the game. While Xingqiu is, well, it's ironic that Xingqiu is on Yelan's rerun, considering Xingqiu is, well, Yelan is heavily compared to Xingqiu, and now we get to the headliners of the second half with Hu Tao and Yelan. We have 2 incredibly sought-after reruns right alongside each other. We have Hu Tao, one of the best Pyro units in the game, even if Pyro has definitely fallen off in the element placement in more recent Genshin Impact patches, and right now I would say it sits only above Geo in a very solid 6th place out of 7 elements as far as power rankings go. I personally do not like Hu Tao, but that's mostly because I think her kit is overtuned. I do not think they should have released her in the state she was in. And I also just don't like her characterization. I do not like her juvenile personality, her prankster aesthetic. It doesn't do anything for me. I just find the character grating and annoying. And I think her kit was a mistake, so that is the reason why out of all the 5 stars that I currently own, which is all of them except for the Alhaitham, who I cannot even wish for until tomorrow night, or tonight by the time you're watching this, she is the only one that, even though I've had her for over a year since her 2.2 rerun, she is still not Friendship 10, and I'm in no hurry to get her the last Friendship level there. She's just sitting around in the Serena Teapot doing nothing. However, on the other hand, Yelan is a unit that I would highly recommend because just like her male counterpart Xingqiu, she is, I would consider, an SS tier unit. She provides a whole heck of a lot of damage, not quite as much Hydro application as Xingqiu, and she doesn't have the damage mitigation and light heals that Xingqiu does, but she makes up for it with the ability to fight at range and the insane mobility her E gives her, as well as the slight bit of crowd control that her E gives her, because enemies that can be crowd controlled easily will get pulled towards Yelan when she detonates her E. We'll go into more detail about Yelan closer when her banner is set to come out, and I am able to, well, not able to, I'm able to right now, but am planning on putting out a Yelan review with my build closer to the time her banner actually goes live. Now, the real big deal here, though, for the second half is actually the weapon banner. There has never been a better time to try and go for that Staff of Homa. Staff of Homa, like Hu Tao, I believe was a mistake. They should not have released it with the numbers it had. It is the blatant best in slot for several polearm users, not just its signature wielder Hu Tao. It's even so good for characters like Zhongli that my Hu Tao does not even have a Staff of Homa at the moment. She is stuck with a Refinement 5 Black Cliff pole. But Staff of Homa has never really had a bad weapon to be paired up with. Yes, even the first banner, which was back before the days of Epitomized Path and had the infamous Homa Wolf's Gravestone banner, well, as I said earlier, Wolf's Gravestone is probably the only weapon on the standard banner that can give a Primordial Jade Wing Spear a run for its money for the title of best weapon from the standard banner. And maybe Gravestone edges out Jade Spear, maybe Jade Spear edges out Gravestone, but it's definitely close. So even though a Staff of Homeless, as it became known on that banner, with whales wasting thousands of dollars and getting dozens, if not dozens and dozens, I don't know what I was going for there, copies of the Wolf's Gravestone trying to get their R5 Staff of Homa. On its first rerun, it was paired alongside the very versatile, very universal, Elegy for the End, that's the name of it. Venti's signature bow that was introduced on Venti's first rerun, being an energy recharge bow with a team buffing passive, and as most of the bow uses at the time were mainly for support due to, well, aimed shots, unless you're Ganyu with a shield, are not exactly the best thing to use when you're getting swarmed by a bunch of enemies or rushed down by a boss. So with the support role that most bow users had up to that point, Elegy for the End is a very solid weapon for most bow users in the game. And now Staff of Homa is going 3 for 3 with having amazing weapons alongside its banners, with Aqua Simulacra being a Primordial Jade Cutter level of bow. And by that I mean it has the same base attack value as Jade Cutter, which is on the low side of 542 when at level 90. But it will give a gargantuan 88.2% crit damage when at level 90. Its passive is similar to Staff of Homa, giving an HP boost and a damage boost. But of course, bow users are less HP centric than your average polearm user, even if Zhongli, Hu Tao, and now Yao Yao are really the only ones to have any sort of confirmed or suspected HP scaling. I don't know if HoYoverse has put out anything official about what Yao Yao's kit's going to be, but being a healer, I'm going to guess there's some HP scaling that could take advantage of the Homa if you really want to wail for your Yao Yao. But yeah, I know the first half of 3.4 is coming up, but this is what I want to focus on, because this is what I've been waiting for. Back when Nahida got her first run alongside Yoimiya's second rerun, I stated that I was disappointed that Yoimiya was there instead of Hu Tao, because I wanted to be able to pick up a few copies of Staff of Homa while going for Refinement 5. I forget the name of Nahida's little lamp catalyst thing, but I have Refinement 5 of that, and I got 3 frickin' Thundering Pulses while getting my 5 of those, and now I have a Refinement 5 Thundering Pulse because of that. But this is the second best thing, because even though I already have Constellation 6 Yelan, and I don't want more Hu Tao constellations, I would say Constellation 1 is the most worthwhile constellation on Hu Tao. I know her C6 does a lot of crazy stuff, but C6s are just so expensive, and I don't like Hu Tao enough to spend that much money on her. So, I'm going to be going deep into this weapon banner, looking for 4 copies of Aqua Simulacra to be able to treat my Yelan right with the Refinement 5 she deserved. But because back when she first released in June, I lost every 50-50 except for the C6, I spent more money than I was planning to just to get the C6 and wasn't able to go for any refinement. Heck, I wasn't even planning to go for Constellation on Yelan, but her playstyle was just so fluid, it just felt natural, felt like a good playstyle. I got lured in and hooked real good by that super useful for exploration C1 of Yelan's, which I will go into in more depth. But needless to say, my plans to go for refinements on her bow were cut short the last time, so I'll be sure to pick up all 4 copies I need this time. As for the 4 stars, I would say they are not arguably, they are even worse than the 4 stars on the Light-of-Foliar Incision PJWS banner, as this banner at least has a sacrificial bow and a Widsith. But here I have stated, and will state again, I don't think I've stated on camera before, this has been in private, that they could have put absolute trash on this banner. Like, that Lithic Blade could have even been a bell, and this weapon banner would have been a W. This is an insane weapon banner. The best of the weapons of the 4-star variety on here is definitely the Favonius Sword. followed by the Rust, or no, followed by Dragon's Bane. EM has definitely shot up in relevance since Sumeru released. So I'd say Favonius Sword and Dragon's Bane might even be neck and neck for which is the best 4-star on this banner. Rust is a solid middle of the pack, and then on the low end we have the Fav Codex. I just don't think there are too many support catalysts who would rather make use of a Favonius than of just the 3-star Thrilling Tales. And Lithic Blade, I would say maybe it's fourth, and the Favonius Codex is the worst 4-star on this banner. But once again, just like Lithic Spear, Lithic Blade is just a weird weapon. It's unique that it only appears on these certain limited time weapon banners, just like the Lithic Spear does. But if you want to use them to maximum value, you got to limit yourself to only characters from Leah, and there are a lot of broken Inazuma characters like Shogun, Kazuha, Ayaka. A lot of broken Sumeru characters. Actually, I don't know too much about a lot. More of the Sumeru 5-stars have been more balanced. Like, I'd say the only one so far who's been really breakout tier 0 material is Nahida. But yeah, that's my opinions on the banners. We're going to focus mostly on the first half here. I do love that Alhaitham, once again, is with the new 4-star as well, so I don't have to wish on either. Well, not on Yelan's banner, because that would be pointless, because I already have C6. So that I don't have to wish on Hu Tao's banner just for the sake of acquiring Yao Yao. Thank you, HoYoverse. You don't always do this. But when you do, I will give you props for it. Xiao, I might actually go for his C1 this time, because Xiao's C1 is the only one that really interests me. It gives you up to 3 charges of his elemental skill, which is very useful for overworld exploration and can be used mid-air, unlike the Wanderers. That's a big negative for me on the Wanderer, is that unlike characters like Xiao and Kazuha, we can't use Wanderer's E mid-air. And once again, if you are looking for your first copy of the Edgy Boy, if you've been waiting for his rerun, you can once again get some Yao Yaos while going for your Xiao here. Once again, this weapon banner is a trap. I'd say even more so than usual because, well, not only is there a standard banner weapon on it, but it's literally right before the holy grail of weapon banners. Holy cow. This is a good weapon banner. I don't even care that the best weapon on the banner is, depending on how you see it, either a Favonius Sword or a Dragon's Bane for the 4-stars. You have the god tier polearm in the game alongside a Jade Cutter level bow. And while yes, there are less bow users who can make use of its passive than there are polearm users who can make use of Homa's passive, if you just want the stats on your bow DPS, get yourself a Simulacra. And if you have Yelan but don't have a Simulacra, get a Simulacra. If you miss and hit the Staff of Homa, you're still winning. As for these, Hu Tao is a strong character. I personally don't like her, but I know a lot of people do, and she is still quite powerful, even with the shift in the meta towards more Dendro-focused team comps and away from Pyro's big duck energy. Sorry about that. I'm just, I don't want to pop a YouTube coming down on me for foul language. And, of course, Yelan is a SS tier unit. She's been described as 5-star Xingqiu, accurately so, but she's also just insanely convenient for getting around the overworld. Her E gives her the fastest land speed of any Genshin Impact character. It doesn't last as long as something like Sayu's roll, but because of the increased speed, I feel like it more than makes up for that, considering if you do get the C1, or if you already have Yelan and want to go for the C1, when you use your second charge, the first charge will still be cooling down while you're in the state of actually dashing with Yelan's E for the second time, and I would honestly say a C1 Yelan is probably one of the best investments you could ever put on an account, as far as convenience in the overworld as well as just a big boost in power, because Yelan's E hits like a truck. My Yelan is far from optimized, and I'm hitting like 50,000 damage with no reactions. Throw in a vape, it can be 6 digits. And then, of course, there's the whole, if you get C1 Yelan and pair with either like double Animo or any of the four characters now, because Kazuha, Heizo, Kaya, and Razor all have the reduced sprint stamina exploration passive. With either like double Animo or one of those four, you can just run everywhere and never run out of stamina, because your stamina recovers while you're in Yelan's dash. It's so nice. That freaking dash was what convinced me to take a character that was going to stay at Constellation 0 until rerun, and just go to Constellation 6 immediately, because I wanted the 1. Once I had the 1, I was hungry for the 2. And then after I had the 2, I was like, well, might as well go for 6. And the stupid monkey brain in me went for 6. Once again, these 3 here, I do not know if their release now was a mistake. I don't know if HoYo versus social media department and their whole updating their site teams got their dates mixed up, or had some system error that had these come out way too early, and if they're going to get removed in a couple days, or removed by like the morning. But yeah, these 2 are coming up first. These guys are going to be the second half of the patch. I'm personally going to be going for C0 Alhaitham and refinement 1 of his weapon, maybe get 1 copy of Xiao. I'm still not sure. And then on the second half, I'm ignoring the character banners and going all in on the weapon banner. So with that, I hope this has helped inform your banner decisions for version 3.4. I have been your Captain Whale, and I do hope you have enjoyed this video, Whale Pod. If you do, make sure to like, comment, and sub the channel if you have not done so already. Now, with that said and done, I hope you all are having fantastic days, Whale Pod. Remember to stay cool, stay classy, and most importantly, stay healthy. But until next time, this is Captain Whale, signing off.